Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET Now's special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. We at ET Now conduct India's only award show for small businesses. Tonight, we're bringing you the highlights of the Awards 2017 that had the presence of Dharmendra Pradhan. He's the Minister for Natural Gas and Petroleum and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. He was our chief guest. Do take a look at some of the highlights.
The awards evening saw stakeholders from the government, business fraternity and industry associations. Speaking on the occasion, Dharmendra Pradhan, Minister Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, reiterated the importance of micro, small and medium enterprises and their immense contribution to the economy. Drawing experiences from the financial sector, V. Vaidyanathan, founder and executive chairman Capital First, spoke about the long-term impact of GST on loans for small businesses, the need to change with time and the relevance of small businesses for India's burgeoning economy.
Good evening, friends. MSME is the primary employment job provider of any economy. In our country, our MSME sector is not so organized like other developed economy. In multi-vertical, gradually our MSME sector is emerging. Every sector, whether it is beauty and wellness, whether it is healthcare sector, whether it is construction, whether it is IT, whether it is service facility, all the sector are growing with double digit. That means lot of economy activities are on, lot of new entrepreneur model are emerging. This government has initiated ambitious program in name of Mudra Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Government has initiated a scheme for women entrepreneur with a target of 1.25 lakhs and plus another 1.25 lakhs from weaker section of the society, constitutionally protected group SC and ST. This 2.5 new entrepreneurship, around 4 crore Mudra beneficiary and double-digit growth indicators of so many industry verticals, there is a sign of employment opportunity. In other side, there are lot of initiatives are taken by Government of India, different ministries, different state governments, import and industry player, business bodies, business organizations, and philanthropic organizations also. A small number is going for higher education, but today in Indian scenario, our skilling ecosystem is such, why there is a concept of management training. If a boy is completing his graduation in any stream of engineering, why he is appointed for another 2 years as a management training? Why he is not imparted properly during the study? Why can't we create a dual education system primarily on our technological student community? Lot of good models are emerging within our country also. Our society needs more job, more employment. This country is going to achieve the double-digit growth ratio within few years. Friends, if we have to achieve the high growth trajectory, we have to focus on where are the new area. All the experts of all are saying one thing. By next 20 years, half of the job of the world will be, existing job will be replaced by another set. As a think tank and civil society, we have to find out what are the new area, what are our requirement, what are our strength. We have to create in the technology world. It's not, it may be a little bit challenging, but it's not a difficult job or it's not an impossible job.
I'd like to invite onto stage Mr. Vaidyanathan, the founder and executive chairman of Capital First.
For all of us at Capital First, it has been a tremendous pleasure to participate with this outstanding organization, ET Now, in this creation of this awards and to felicitate the entrepreneurs, the 10 entrepreneurs who are winning awards today out of thousands of applications that we received as part of this process. When we say leaders of tomorrow, when we say leaders, it inspires everyone. When we say tomorrow, it inspires everyone because we look forward to something in the future. But how do you create leaders, at least from the small entrepreneurs situation? How do you make them large, medium entrepreneurs? Now, two things. One, the economy has to grow. Fortunately, after 3 or 4 years, or maybe 2 years after demonetization, a dip, it has started to come up again. 7.5% plus is the expected growth rate. So when growing economy creates more entrepreneurs. So if you have a rate problem, I suspect rates will come down for small entrepreneurs. If you say there's a lot of documentation issues, I suspect that will come down. If you have an issue about the fact that there's a lot of paperwork required to be done, that will come down. A lot of GST information will start coming and feeding to the process of taking decisions. Digitization process, cash flows coming through digitization. Then there was a lot of discussion on GST. Many people said this is demonetization, this is GST, things will get affected. And of course, there were certain issues with input tax credit, cash flows, and so on and so forth. But end of the day, even as far as GST is concerned, while we know there are a number of benefits of GST, one of the key benefits of GST is that the financing of entrepreneurs will become much easier. And I really thank and appreciate ET Now for taking the initiative for putting together this event called Leaders of Tomorrow, and we very wholeheartedly support you this program. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
On the other side, we get you glimpses from a fireside chat with industry experts on the theme of disruption and sustainable development for entrepreneurs.
Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we're going to continue to bring you highlights of the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards 2017. Do take a look.
Leaders of Tomorrow Awards brought together V. Vaidyanathan, founder and executive chairman Capital First, R.C. Bhargava, chairman Maruti Suzuki India, and R. Chandrasekhar, president NASSCOM, on one platform as they discussed adoption of technology by small businesses, the changing landscape for SMEs in India, and filing of patents by MSMEs in an invigorating fireside chat.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for taking the time tonight. It's very exciting to have a panel such as this, to be able to talk to our MSMEs who've gathered here this evening about some of the changes that really are taking place as far as both disruption is concerned for small businesses as well as sustainable development and therefore the way forward. But I want to talk about the use of technology. Very briefly, a lot of the small businesses tell us we don't even understand things like AI, things like virtual reality. We don't have the funds for it. A research report that I was looking at says that nearly 55% of SME leaders say they're optimistic about the performance benefits of new technology. So the majority is, but only 47 believe that their active participation in the digital economy is essential to their survival. So they don't even see it as crucial to their survival. And here we're talking about disruption for businesses. How do you think that's going to change?
I think a lot of SMEs and MSMEs think they're too small to afford technology, or they don't have the wherewithal, or as you said, even the means or the funds to use technology. The truth is that in today's world, the small and medium enterprises cannot afford not to use technology, because if they don't, then it's going to be extremely difficult to reach either the kind of efficiencies that use of these technologies are enabling today, or the kind of linkages with supply chains, both domestic and global, that are fostered by technology. And therefore, I think the key question is, have they invested time? It's not just money. Have they invested some time in understanding for their own business how technology is disrupting that segment? What are the optimal ways by which you can use technology? Lastly, I just want to leave one more thought, that unlike in the past, use of these technologies today does not involve a huge amount of capital expenditure. A lot of it is today possible merely as revenue expenditure, and therefore it can be built into the cost of operations. So I think all of these are factors which are critical for an MSME to keep in mind.
Sure. Mr. Bhargava.
The biggest disruptive action which is happening is that whereas all these 70 years after independence, manufacturing was not treated as a major objective for leading growth. In the last 3 years, the Prime Minister has made manufacturing his main spearhead for growing economy and creating jobs, which means the growth rate of manufacturing is going to get much faster. The size of manufacturing units is going to become much bigger, and everybody involved in the process of manufacturing has to scale up operations much quicker and faster than ever before. And that is where technology use is going to become relevant, because technology by itself doesn't mean very much. It's technology which is used to increase efficiency, to increase productivity, to reduce cost. And I think, as Mr. Chandrasekhar said, there are lots of existing technologies which can be used for all these three purposes.
Okay. Mr. Vaidyanathan, there is innovation, there is disruption, but not necessarily the big ones. You're someone who speaks with MSMEs, you're very closely associated with small businesses. Do you see enough of that happening?
See, to me, the most important thing is how they react to a disruption. Because we all know disruption is always happening, will continue to come. Issues, how they react to it. The change that is coming at them is dramatic, because at the same time there is GST, at the same time there is demonetization, at the same time there is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, so on and so forth. The whole ecosystem is suddenly changing. So anybody unwilling to change the past is going to have a problem. So I'm giving an example of saying, okay, if this is how you lived and your father has lived and your grandfather has lived for the last 100 years, now this has changed, I need to have a single book because GST is going to force you to have one. This willingness to change and say that this is the new India, I've got to pay my taxes and this is the way it's going to be, it's good for me. This change is important for them to understand and move. And we are seeing that change already happening, and that's the only positive news.
You were talking about China. We all love talking about China, whether it's the auto industry, whether it's what perhaps is happening by way of offshore delivery centers, etc. Not necessarily China, but other countries as well. And I want to talk about IP, if I may, and our comparison when it comes to IPs being filed in India. The big question, of course, and there was a brief discussion on the ecosystem. I want to talk about the number of IPs that perhaps are getting filed out of India. We did a show recently on the Leaders of Tomorrow. India doesn't compare at all when it comes to the number of IPs being filed, especially by China. The surprising, at least to us on the show, it was surprising that China files the highest number of IPs in the world. And these are not just big businesses, these are small businesses as well. I want to ask the three of you gentlemen, how perhaps is that going to change? How can we encourage more small businesses to look at patenting their ideas, to come up with those ideas that's going to help be those disruptors for their industries?
Well, the need to file IPs arises when a business feels that it has to keep improving its technology and knowledge levels to compete. Unfortunately, for a long time, we've had an economy where there was not much competition for industry, where there was not much growth possibilities for industry, and there was no need, therefore, to develop any new IPs for anybody. There was not much R&D being done. Size of companies was kept small. All these factors militate against IP generation. China has gone ahead with a lot of education. The number of PhDs they turn out is in several multiples of what we do, 10 times or more every year. And businesses have become huge. They're global-sized businesses. We don't have global-sized businesses because of policy. So under those circumstances, we can't really create many IPs till we get all these factors sorted out.
So essentially, the ecosystem needs to be fixed. Would you agree?
if you look at IP, it's a fact that we haven't been creating IPs nowhere near as prolific as China. But as Mr. Bhargav said, for businesses, they are not in the business of creating IP. They are in the business of doing business. And if in the course of business, it so happens that they have had a technology innovation which can be converted into an IP, both to protect their business as well as to maintain a lead over competition, they will do that. But I think both government and businesses in India are not investing enough in creating those advancements or in creating knowledge which leads to an IP and which can create a competitive advantage. The second aspect is I mentioned that for a business to succeed, you can have technology innovation, you can have business innovation. And business innovation, while it is important and leads to success, is not necessarily patentable, cannot lead to an IP. So I think while IP is important, maybe we should not be over concerned about IP. The question is, are we creating new ideas and new businesses which are translating into tangible benefit to users or translating into real economic value addition? I think that's the critical point.
Okay, all right, point taken. Thank you for that. I have one last question to you as we wind down today's conversation, and that's as far as the second part of our fireside chat is concerned, sustainable development. Sustainable development has three pillars. That's as far as the environment is concerned, the economy is concerned, and social equity. How does a company really balance all three for development is my question to you. Through your company, of course, you're trying to change the social equity of small businesses, of the economy. How does a company, though, balance all three?
See, the first set of balancing of social equity, so to say, what does income tax do at a personal level? A person who's earning lesser income pays no tax below 3 lakhs. Between 3 to say 4 lakhs, they pay 10%, then 20%, 30%. And the top guy above 1 crore pays out. Like that, for the small entrepreneur, in my opinion, and I've been trying to present this case for a while, that India should have progressive tax rates in the corporate sector, which means that if you're a corporate, if you're a Maruti and you made, say, 5,000 crores of profit, or I don't know what Bhargav makes, for the first, say, 5 crores or whatever it is, you pay at some 10% and then you progressively take it up. Now, the government, according to me, will not lose much because the corporates that earn that kind of profits are very, very few. But a large number of small entrepreneurs will get a benefit which is different than the large entrepreneur in a graded way. If you become big, you pay your taxes, so progressive. In my opinion, if you did this, because the small entrepreneur is already dealing with a large number of issues. He doesn't have scale. He doesn't have the benefit of high interest rate. A large company borrows at 7%, 8%. This guy borrows 16%. Where do we equalize? If you leave the things like this guy will never become that guy. So I would say, therefore, that if you got to do one thing, this is my wish list, that we have a graded tax structure. The small guy just pays small and then pays more as he earns more. I've been trying to say this, and actually, to be fair, I think it's not because of my suggestion or anything like that, but the government is already moving there. Because the 25% tax rate for the small guy, the government is moving in the direction. That's one wish list I would have to bring more democratization of entrepreneurship in the country.
We are seeing disruption when it comes to technology. And let me come to you on that. What's the feedback that you're receiving? That good ideas, those aha ideas, not necessarily those aha ideas, businesses which have good ideas are also getting funded at that stage? Is it easier if you're in the technology space, like Mr. Vaidyanathan said?
Well, I don't know if it's easier in the technology space because I'm looking at the technology space, but not relative to others. But I think there is no doubt that a good idea backed by a strong technology team will get funded. I don't think that we have a situation where they won't get funded. It's true that the earlier days of easy money for each and any idea are perhaps over. And that's probably a good thing because people felt that, just raising money, they've achieved success. I'm not sure I've understood this distinction between a great idea and ROI, because I thought the purpose of every business is to make a profit. So if he says it's a great idea, but it's not going to make any money, then, well, maybe, you know, there's one way, which is you get into valuation game, which is, you know, what Facebook and Amazon and Google did for a long time. Or you have to be in philanthropy, you know, one way or the other. But if you're not going to make money, then the idea, prima facie, is not something which is easily fundable. Today, the investors are becoming a little more wary. They are not looking only at the idea. They are also looking at whether somewhere on the horizon, there's a possibility of this becoming a viable, scalable, profitable business. And therefore, every idea has to pass through that litmus test for it to get funded. And with the growing maturity of both ideas and entrepreneurs that we are seeing today, I think there's a vast improvement that has happened over the last 4 or 5 years. It's a very short time, but that improvement, I think, holds the greatest promise, and there's room for optimism.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this evening. Mr. Vaidyanathan, Mr. Bhargava, Mr. Chandrasekhar, thank you very much for taking the time out this evening.
In the second part of our special telecast of Leaders of Tomorrow Awards 2017, catch industry bigwigs discuss challenges in adoption of technology and the way forward, and find out who were awarded as this year's Leaders of Tomorrow.
That wraps up part 1 of a 2-part awards special of the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards 2017. If you have any feedback for us or want to get in touch to know more, you can always write to us at leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com. You can reach us on social media, tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET Now. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned for part 2.